And something exciting happens in this one. For the first time ever in my life, I make quads.
Hey guys, I'm Chuck. Welcome to Happy Face Hold'em. These right here are my Charlie cards. These are my fancy Charlie chips. Why Happy Face Hold'em? Well, the town I live in, we have a happy face mowed right into the side of the hill. That's where we get our name from. The goal? Play some Texas Hold'em and have more Charlie chips at the end of every session than we started with.
Well, hey guys, welcome to Happy Face Hold'em. I know it's been a little while since I've come to you, and I was going to vlog, I think it was in vlog 20, I was in Arizona, and vlog 21 was going to be from the talking stick. Well, I have table footage from that session, and it didn't go bad, but it didn't go good either. I ended that session up $25. Back in California, things shut down again in December. So, had to make some decisions on what to do. Not play, go elsewhere to play. Then things started opening back up. So anyways, I hit the next 12 sessions on a losing streak. Really crushed my bankroll, to be honest with you, and was very debilitating as a player. So the goal here is to log 500 hours at 2-3. Well, 280 of those 500 hours, specifically at 2-3, I'm doing well. I'm an up winning player. However, you throw into the mix 1-3 and 1-2, and I was absolutely crushed. So I had to do some pondering and consideration, and here's my personal conclusion. I'd like to know what you think of this. But, in LA, they're not spreading 1-2 anymore because they're limited on the number of tables they can open. So 2-3's the smallest game we have, which means all the 1-2 players who would normally play 1-2, if they're deciding to play, they're now playing 2-3. And what's that do? That brings donkey-ass players to the table. For example, I played 2 sessions at Chumash Casino, which we already know how I feel about that place. And I, pocket queens, big raise pre-flop, try to narrow the field. I'm called by 8-4 offsuit. And what's he get? 5-6 on the flop, 7 on the river. He makes a straight. Called me all the way down with pot-sized bets. We got it all in, and he won. And, that's just one example, but the deck's been really, really cold to me. So anyways, come January, I took 3 weeks of not playing, went and played 2 sessions, and then waited another 3 weeks and went out and played a couple more sessions until you saw that last vlog from Las Vegas where we did the Vlogger's Paradise meetup. So my conclusion here is the 1-2 players are up playing 2-3, and the Vegas 1-3 game is the lowest game at most places that they spread. There are some casinos with 1-2, but most seem to be 1-3, the bigger rooms like Venetian and Bellagio. So I hit the books, and I've been studying. I've put a lot of hours into study every day, probably 7 to 8 weeks now of constant study. And, so I have 40 to 60 hours of study in minimum at this point. And I've decided to jump stakes. I've been playing 2-5 in Vegas and 5-5 here in Los Angeles. And wow, what a difference. My first session at 5-5, I lost. And my first session of 2-5, I lost. However, ever since, we've been on the up. So I have some making up to do. Didn't lose a whole lot, which is the good news. Very disciplined laydowns, very disciplined to leave the table when I'm card dead. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Playing a little bit higher game, not looking to move up any higher. I think back in July when things were open, I was hoping to, double or triple up in a 2-3 game and jump in a 5-5, and it just never happened. And it's been an up and down roller coaster ever since. So 280 hours in at 2-3 no limit hold'em, and I'm up just slightly. Nothing to brag about, nothing to even tell you about. Pretty much, more than even, but not enough where I would consider myself an excellent player yet. So with that, the object or the objective of this channel is changing slightly. It's no longer to log 500 hours of 2-3 no limit hold'em. No, the objective is to win more at the end of every session then we buy in for, right? And isn't that the goal of every poker session? So here today, went down to Commerce Casino in Los Angeles and jumped into a 5-5 game. We were in for 500. We had to top off with another 100. So we're in the game total for 600. And I want you to take a look at what happens here. And something exciting happens in this one. For the first time ever in my life, I make quads. Just that hand. Stay tuned for that one. All right, guys, it's never too late to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I love your comments. I appreciate you being here. And just grateful to all of you for watching my journey. And here we go. We're going to continue. And I hope to be bringing you more videos live from the felt in the very near future.
Alrighty, the first hand we're going to look at, I'm in the hijack with pocket nines, and I open the action to $25 in late position. Hoping to isolate and just play in position, but we do get a call from the button, and the big blind calls. So with 75 in the pot, the flop comes pretty decent. 8 deuce 8 rainbow. Paired board, which isn't necessarily always the best, but I have an overpair. So I'm happy to continue here. I think I'd do this with my full range. I'm going to go a little bit larger than half pot size and bet 45. We do fold out the button, but the big blind calls. So with 165 in, the turn is the 7 of hearts. So putting a heart flush draw on the board and a possible straight draw now. So I'm going to continue my line. I bet a little more again than half pot, and I throw in a $100 chip. The big blind decides to make the call. So now I'm trying to consider, what did he float the flop and turn with that I can beat at this point? I'm kind of putting him on 10s, jacks, unlikely queens, because I think I would have been 3-bet pre, probably not even jacks. So maybe 10s or a ragged hand with an 8 in it, maybe 7-8 or 8-9. But I double block the 9. So I'm not too worried about 9s. So kind of going through my options, I'm thinking he has 7-8 or 8-9. I'm sorry, 7-8, 6-8 suited, maybe 6-8 of clubs. And so I just have to evaluate what's going to happen on the river. I'll likely give up on the river unless I get some sort of a beautiful card, like maybe a 10 or a jack. So the river comes off the 6 of clubs, which does complete a potential straight draw. But again, I double block the top end of it, so I'm not worried about that. I suppose he could have 4-5 in this case, but I don't see him floating the flop or the turn. I think I would have folded out any 4-5 combo. So I'm just really putting him on a ragged 8. So when he checks the action over to me, rather than try to go for some thin value, because I think I'm only going to be called by better. Not sure what I can target to get called by worse with. So after he checks, I'm happy to check behind. I flip over my pocket nines, and he rolls over pocket 10s. So we were beat the whole way down. His line actually makes quite a bit of sense, and I likely could have saved a little bit by checking back the turn, but I didn't want to face a river bet and be put in an awkward spot. So chips will go the wrong direction in this one, and we're going to move on and take a look at the next hand. All right, in the next one, I'm in the small blind, and there's 2 limpers before the action comes around to me, and I look down at pocket kings. I'm going to put in a raise to 30, being out of position, and 2 limpers ahead of me. I do want to make my raise size just a little bit bigger from early position here. So middle position and cutoff we're going to call. So with 90 in, the flop comes queen, deuce 6 with 2 diamonds. So I'm the first action to take place here from the small blind. I do want to target any queen or any flush draw holdings that might be out there. I think both of them will pay me off. So I size up just a little bit with my bet, and I make it 65 into this pot of 90, so about 2/3. Unfortunately, middle position and the cutoff both find folds. Guess they didn't have a draw or a queen. Happy to take this little pot down and retrieve some of the chips we donked off in the last hand. All right, what do you guys think so far? I'm trying my hand at 2-5 and 5-5 now, and my intro video explained a little bit of why and how I've been doing. So appreciate the comments. Happy to be back at the felt. And please do take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment below. Helps the channel out a ton. All right, taking a look at the next hand, I'm in the hijack, and I look down at ace queen after 3 limpers. So I'm going to put a raise into 25. And we get 2 callers going to the flop in position, which is always good with ace queen. And the flop comes 5 deuce 3 with 2 hearts. Now, the action checks to me, and although I have the 2 over cards and a gut shot, I think this flop smashes the range of the guys that limped and then called the raise way more than it smashes me. So I'm happy to check back here. The turn comes down the 5 of spades, and the small blind leads out on this board for 45. You know, again, gut shot and 2 overs. There's a flush draw on the board. It's now a paired board. I'm not happy with this run out at all. I don't think I have any other option than to just fold this one out. I could stay in and try to catch an ace or a queen, but I don't even likely know if I'm going to be good. If the ace of hearts or queen of hearts peels off, I don't block either one of those, so I don't block a nut flush draw. I could be in bad shape. And if any other pairing comes out, you know, could definitely be up against a boat already. You know, and it's possible that he's playing 5 deuce. And if you don't believe that a small blind might play 5 deuce, let me show you this.
All right, Lady Fish raised. I'm going to donk lead for 15 into a pot of 22.
Okay, everybody? Everybody looking? 5 deuce, baby! That's 2 for 2.
All right, in this next one, I'm in the big blind. There's 3 limpers ahead of me, and I raised the 35 after looking down at king, queen suited. We do get 2 callers, so with 105 in, the flop comes deuce, 3, deuce, rainbow. So again, another paired flop. The action's going to check through on this one. You know, I could continue here and bet my full range, but I think in balancing, I decided to check like I did in the last hand with my 2 overs. I don't know what it is. The deck has been cold to me, starting to warm up a little bit, but I'll tell you, when I'm playing big cards, the flops come little. When I'm playing little suited connectors, the flop comes big. Just my luck right now. So anyways, action checks through, and the turn comes down the 5 of diamonds, completing the full rainbow. The small blind leads out for 25 in this one. Now, this is an interesting spot. So in the last hand with my 2 overs on the paired board, on when the turn paired, I decided to check it through. But in this case, I decided to continue with a call. I don't think that my opponent, the villain in this case, is going to be playing any deuce in his range with the raise the 35 pre. If he has a deuce in his range, unless it's exactly ace deuce of diamonds, I don't see any deuce in his range. Pocket 4s are also definitely an option here, and he could have just turned an open ender, which I think would play this way also. But I'm going to float the turn and reevaluate the river and go from there. So with that turn card, he bets 25, and I'm going to make the call. Under the gun folds out, so we're going heads up to the river, which comes a queen of diamonds. The small blind leads out here for 65, and it puts me in a little bit of an awkward spot. I think I'm getting the right odds to call here. I have made my queen with a good kicker, and again, I think I'm putting him on a middle pair. Maybe 4s makes a lot of sense. Would have given him an open ender on the flop, and he could have easily continued that on the turn when he improved. He could be playing 6s, 7s, anywhere up through jacks this way from the small blind and calling my 35 raise pre-flop. So I decided to make the hero call on this one. The villain doesn't show his hand, but I'm good with my queens here. The only comment he made was, "You always beat me on the river." We had another hand that I didn't capture here where it was very similar, and I just had a good read on him. All right, moving on to the next hand. I look down at pocket 10s on the button. Middle position raises, and I have the option to 3-bet this hand. I think in most cases I would, but being down a little bit on the session, I thought I'm going to flat this one and induce some other callers. So we do get 4 callers total with 100 in. The flop comes queen 6 7. The action checks through to me. I could put out a bet here and likely have the good hand, but with 4 callers out there, I'm not certain I want to bet into 3 other players. So I check my option. Turn comes down the 8 of clubs. There's putting a straight draw on the board. The small blind leads out for 35. All of us call. There's 3 callers to this hand. I probably should have laid it down at this point. But, you know, a 9 will spike me the top end of the straight here. River comes down the 7 of hearts, pairing the board. The small blind bets $50, and I ponder just laying this one down again. I probably should have just gotten out of the way on the flop, but I donkey call this one, and he shows ace-queen. Looking back at this player was to my left. He was a very tight, passive player. He never raised pre-flop. He rarely made a bet. Did a lot of calling and showing top pair and top 2 pair. So I should have known I was beat. But with 10s and 7s, I could have been calling. He could have had 9s just as easy, or even 5s, and I would have been good. So I do pay off his $50, and the chips move in the wrong direction. So not getting very good flops at this table, I finally decide it's time for me to table change. I was fairly card dead too. Of these, 3 or 4 hands we just took a look at, this was over a period of 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I didn't get a lot of playable hands, and when I did play, I got unlucky in most of them. So I walk over to the new table and just about to take my spot in seat 1, and the player in seat 5 says he's going to take that seat. So I wait for him to move, the sanitary folks to come around and sanitize the seat. I run off to the restroom. I see a hand being played while I'm waiting for them to clean. Seat 8, next to the dealer, is a very good player, and he's the one I'm going to battle with in the hand that I'm going to go over. He seems to be a very good player, making the right moves, making the right bluffs, from what I'm seeing so far. So I return from the restroom and I plop down in seat 5, and the first hand I'm dealt is pocket 8s. After 2 limpers ahead of me, I'm not too excited to get involved in the first hand I play at the table. I like to see some of the action, but I do decide I better raise to 25 after the 2 limpers. Looking back, I should have gone just a little bit larger to narrow the field, but that's okay. This works. The button and the big blind make the call. So with 90 in, the flop comes 6-8 queen with 2 spades. I'm pretty happy about this flop, hoping that one of my opponents called with a queen or a flush draw. After the big blind checks, I start assembling a bet of about 35, a third of the pot, and then I decide I better size up here with the draw, and I can target any queen. I think both of those will come along. So I bet 65, and only the button calls. We smash the turn when it comes down an 8 of clubs. Yep, we turn quads. Never in my lifetime have I made quads in a live game with a pocket pair. So this is the first time. So my heart, of course, races. I'm jumping out of my seat without showing it. And I ponder a bet here, and I throw out a single $100 chip. And the button quickly calls. So at this point, I know he doesn't have an 8. But he could easily try to rep an 8. But I do believe that he's on the flush draw or has a queen in his holding, because he called pretty quickly. The river comes down pretty much a brick. 10 of hearts isn't going to change a lot. And I was about to make a bet, and then I thought, based on the play I've seen this guy make in 2 other hands, if I check here, I can likely induce a bluff because he's got position.
You know, I thought if I had a missed flush draw, if I had a weak queen, or even if I had a very weak 8, I would probably play this the same way. You know, 1 pair, just a queen, probably no good, or missed flush draw, obviously no good. So I do elect to check here. I think that's the best route, the best option I could have chosen.
So I check, and sure enough, the villain bets 200. Now I had 231 behind at this point, so he left me with $31 on the table. I Hollywood it just a little bit, pondering if I, making it look like maybe I'm uncomfortable making the call, but I do go ahead and put all 231 in. He looks a little in disbelief that I even called his river bet here, and he's disgusted to put in the extra 31, but he does. And of course, I turn over my pocket 8, showing the winner. and he does not show us. And I decide this is a good time to chip up and book a win. Thanks for joining me. Hope to catch you next time on Happy Face Hold'em.